Nobody in the Galactic Union understood why humans kept volunteering for dangerous assignments. Most species avoided risk. Humans seemed to chase a doctor. Rilith clicked her mandibles nervously as the shuttle descended through thick clouds. She was a Valorian, an insectoid scientist with 4 arms and compound eyes that could see in 12 different light spectrums. She had studied creatures on 217 worlds. She had written papers that changed how the Union classified dangerous life forms. She was, by any measure, an expert, but something about this planet made her nervous. Predator density is unusually high, she announced, studying her scanner. For every prey animal, there are 3 predators. That ratio should not exist in a stable ecosystem. Technician Palo, a small fur-covered kill wrath sitting at the sensor station, let out a worried chirp. 3 predators for every prey? How do they not starve? Unknown, Dr. Rilith replied. Perhaps they feed on each other. From the back of the shuttle, a calm voice spoke up. Sounds like home. Dr. Rilith turned 2 of her eyes toward the human. Danny Webb sat with his boots propped up on a supply crate, drinking something brown from a metal container. He was a security consultant assigned to their survey team. A former wildlife ranger from a place called Australia, which Dr. Rilith had learned was one of Earth's most dangerous regions. Your homeworld has similar predator ratios? She asked. Danny shrugged. In some places. The outback. The ocean. We learn to deal with it. Deal with it how? Carefully. He smiled and took another sip of his drink. The shuttle broke through the clouds, and Dr. Rilith got her first look at Survey Target 4471. Dense forest stretched to every horizon, broken only by rivers that glittered like silver threads. The vegetation was deep purple and blue, with patches of bioluminescent growth that pulsed with soft light, even in daylight. Beautiful. And according to her instruments, absolutely crawling with things that could kill them. They landed in a clearing near a river. Standard protocol for survey missions. Establish a base camp, deploy sensor equipment, collect samples, and document everything. Simple work. Safe work, usually. Doctor. Rilith stepped off the shuttle and immediately felt wrong. The forest was too quiet. On most worlds, landing a shuttle scattered wildlife for kilometers. Here, she could feel things watching from the treeline. Patient, curious, hungry. Palo began deploying the sensor grid. She ordered, keeping her voice steady. Danny, please conduct a perimeter check. The human was already walking toward the forest edge, his posture relaxed. He moved quietly for such a large creature, Dr. Rilith noticed. Most humans she had met were loud and clumsy. Danny moved like something that knew how to hunt. Or how to avoid being hunted. Got tracks here, Danny called back. 6-legged. Big ones. Recent. Dr. Rilith hurried over, scanner ready. The tracks were deep impressions in the soft ground, each one larger than her head. She analyzed the depth and spacing. Creature approximately 400 kilograms. Possibly more. Pack hunter, Danny added, pointing at the surrounding ground. See how the tracks overlap? At least 6 individuals. They move together. How do you know they are hunters? Danny crouched and touched one of the prints. Claw marks at the front. Toe arrangement for grip and speed. These aren't grazers. These are pursuit predators. Dr. Rilith felt her thorax tighten with anxiety. We should complete our survey quickly. Probably smart. They worked through the afternoon. Palo deployed sensors while Dr. Rilith collected plant samples and cataloged the bioluminescent organisms. Danny circled the camp in widening patterns, checking sight lines and escape routes. Several times, Dr. Rilith saw him pause and stare into the forest, as if listening to something she could not hear. As the sun began to set, the forest came alive with color. Bioluminescent plants brightened, casting the clearing in shifting patterns of blue and green light. It was beautiful. It was also, Dr. Rilith realized, perfect camouflage for predators. Motion sensors are detecting movement, Palo announced, his fur standing on end. Multiple contacts. Large. They're coming from the north. Dr. Rilith checked her own scanner. 6 signatures, moving in a coordinated pattern, coming straight toward them. Everyone back to the shuttle, she ordered. Wait. Danny held up a hand. He was watching the Treeline with an expression Dr. Rilith could not read. They already know we are here. Running now just makes us look like prey. We are prey, Palo whimpered. Only if we act like it. Danny walked to the center of the clearing and stood there, arms loose at his sides. Stay behind me. Stay calm. Let them make the first move. Dr. Rilith wanted to argue. Every instinct told her to flee, to get behind metal walls and locked doors. But something in Danny's voice made her hesitate. He spoke like someone who had done this before. The creatures emerged from the shadows. They were horrifying. 6 legs, each ending in curved claws. Bodies covered in scales that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. Heads like crocodiles, with multiple rows of teeth visible even when their mouths were closed. They moved with perfect coordination, spreading out to surround the clearing. Palo made a sound like a dying engine and collapsed against the shuttle. Dr. Rilith froze, her scanner forgotten in her hands. Danny did not move. The lead creature approached him, sniffing the air. It was close enough to touch, close enough to kill. Its eyes reflected the bioluminescent light like twin stars. Danny tilted his head slightly and made a low sound in his throat. Not aggressive, not afraid, just present. The creature stared at him for a long moment. Then it turned and walked back toward the forest. The others followed, disappearing into the shadows as silently as they had come. Doctor Rilith found her voice. What just happened? Danny turned around, and for the first time, he looked genuinely interested. They were curious about us, wanted to see what we were. Now they know, and now we wait to see if anything bigger comes to check. As if in answer, a roar echoed across the valley. Deep, powerful, the kind of sound that resonated in bones and triggered ancient fears. The creatures that had just left? They ran. Danny finished his drink. Ah, there it is. The roar faded into silence, but the silence was worse. The forest had gone completely still. Even the bioluminescent plants seemed to dim, as if afraid to draw attention. Doctor Rilith's compound eyes scanned the Treeline in every direction. Her scanner showed a single massive signature approaching from the east. It moved slowly, deliberately. No kitty. No need. Shuttle, she said firmly. Now. This time, Danny did not argue. They moved together toward the ship, Palo practically crawling on his belly with fear. But before they could reach the ramp, Danny stopped. Wait. Listen. Dr. Rilith did not want to listen. She wanted to be inside metal walls with engines warming up. But she forced herself to stop and focus. Footsteps. Heavy ones. And something else. A rhythmic sound, like breathing through a broken pipe. It is circling us, Danny said quietly. Testing the edges. It knows we are here, but it does not know what we are. Is that good? Palo asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Better than the alternative. The creature emerged from the forest. Dr. Rilith had seen many predators in her career. She had documented creatures with venomous fangs, armored hides, and hunting methods that gave her nightmares. But nothing had prepared her for this. Akati stood 15 meters tall at the shoulder. Its body was a nightmare combination of bear and mantis, with massive forelegs that ended in scythe-like claws. Armored plates covered its back and head, and between the plates, bioluminescent patches glowed with soft orange light. Its eyes were small and forward-facing. Hunter's eyes, intelligent eyes. The creature studied them with obvious curiosity. It sniffed the air, tasting their scent. Then it took a step forward. Palo screamed and bolted for the shuttle. The creature's head snapped toward the movement, tracking the fleeing kill wrath with predatory focus. Stop! Danny's voice cut through the panic. Not loud, not panicked, just firm, commanding. Palo froze halfway up the ramp, shaking. Do not run, Danny continued, his eyes never leaving the creature. Running triggers chase instinct. Stand still. Make yourself boring. Boring, Dr. Rilith repeated, her voice shaking despite her best efforts. Predators conserve energy. They chase things that run because running means food. Standing still means trouble. Means risk. Means maybe not worth the effort. The creature took another step forward. It was close enough now that Dr. Rilith could smell it. Musk and something metallic. Blood, maybe. Its breath washed over them, hot and damp. Danny did something that stopped Dr. Rilith's hearts. He walked toward it. What are you doing? She hissed. Establishing communication. It is not sapient. Does not need to be. Animals communicate. Body language. Eye contact. Sound. Watch. Danny stopped 5 meters from the creature. He stood tall, shoulders back, but his posture was not aggressive. Not challenging. Just present. He looked directly at the creature's eyes and held the gaze. The creature lowered its head, bringing those massive scythe arms closer. It could cut Danny in half with a single swipe. One movement. Less than a second. Danny made a low sound in his throat, something between a hum and a growl. The creature's head tilted slightly. I am not food, Danny said, his voice calm. I'm not a threat. I am something you have never seen before. And you're curious. That is good. Curiosity keeps us both alive. The creature snorted, blasting Danny with hot air. He did not flinch. For an endless moment, they stood there, human and monster, two predators measuring each other. Then the creature turned and walked back into the forest. Doctor Rilith's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the ground, her scanner clattering beside her. Ow, was all she could manage. Danny walked back to them, his expression thoughtful. Apex predators are smart. They have to be. Stupid predators do not become apex anything. They learn to assess threats, calculate risk and reward. I made myself an unknown quantity. Unknown means dangerous. Dangerous means careful. Careful means walking away. You could have been killed. Possible. But running guaranteed death. Standing still gave me options. Palo crept down from the shuttle ramp, his fur slowly settling. Humans do this regularly? Danny shrugged. We evolved alongside predators. Lions, tigers, bears, wolves, crocodiles. Things that would eat us if they could. We learned their languages, their behaviors, how they think. He smiled slightly. On Earth, we call it wildlife management. Here, I guess it is survival. Dr. Rilith picked up her scanner with shaking hands. The data she had recorded was extraordinary. The creature's biological specifications exceeded anything in Union records. Heart rate, muscle density, sensory capabilities. All off the charts. This creature, she said slowly, it should not exist. The energy requirements alone. The ecological niche. Nothing in our models predicts something like this. Life finds a way, Danny said. That is not a scientific explanation. No, it is an observation. He looked toward the forest where the creature had disappeared. Your models are based on predictable ecosystems. Stable food chains. Earth was never stable. Ice ages. Meteor impacts. Volcanic winters. Everything that survived learned to be adaptable. Flexible. Dangerous when necessary. He looked back at Dr. Rilith, including us. For the first time, Dr. Rilith truly understood why humans were classified as Deathworlders. Not because of their strength or their technology, but because they thought like predators. They looked at a 15-meter killing machine and saw a puzzle to solve, not a death sentence to accept. We should complete our survey and leave, she said finally. Agreed. But carefully. That thing will remember us now. And next time, it might be less curious and more hungry. They spent the next hour gathering their equipment, always watching the tree-line. The forest slowly returned to life around them. Small creatures began chirping and clicking. The bioluminescent plants brightened. Dr. Rilith was uploading her data to the shuttle's computer when Danny called out. Doctor, you need to see this. She found him near the edge of the clearing, crouched beside a depression in the ground. Inside the depression were 3 large spherical objects, each about half a meter across. They pulsed with faint orange light. Eggs. We landed in a nesting ground, Danny said quietly. That creature was not hunting us. It was protecting its young. Dr. Rilith felt cold horror spread through her body. A protective mother was infinitely more dangerous than a curious hunter. They had been in mortal danger from the moment they landed. We need to leave, she said. Immediately. I know, but look at the shuttle's position. Exhaust vents point directly at the nest. If we fire engines now, the heat and vibration could damage the eggs. Then we move. Danny nodded slowly. We move. Very, very carefully. Moving a shuttle by hand sounded impossible until Danny explained the anti-gravity assists. The shuttle had small maneuvering modules designed for precise docking in space stations. On the ground, they could reduce the craft's effective weight to almost nothing. The problem was control. Push too hard, it slides away, Danny explained. Push too soft, it does not move. And if it tips, the weight redistributes wrong and everything goes bad fast. Dr. Rilith looked at the nest behind them, then at the forest where the mother creature had disappeared. How far do we need to move? 50 meters minimum. 75 would be safer. 75 meters. In full view of a territorial apex predator that could kill them in seconds. Dr. Rilith wanted to argue that there had to be another way, but she could not think of one. Palo, she called. Activate the maneuvering assists. Lowest setting. The Killwrath was shaking so badly he could barely operate the controls, but he managed. The shuttle hummed and lifted slightly, hovering a few centimeters off the ground. Light enough to push. Light enough to lose control. They positioned themselves around the craft. Danny at the front, Dr. Rilith at the back, Palo on the side farthest from the nest. On Danny's signal, they began to push. The shuttle moved. Slowly, painfully slowly, but it moved 0.5 meters, 10 meters. The nest fell behind them, but Dr. Rilith could still see those softly glowing eggs. Still feel the presence of something massive watching from the shadows. Movement in the tree-line, Palo whispered. The creature is following us. Let follow, Danny said, his voice steady. We are not threatening. We are leaving. That is what it wants. 15 meters. 20 meters. Dr. Rilith's arms burned. Valorians were not built for sustained physical labor. But she kept pushing. Fear was an excellent motivator. 30 meters. One of the eggs began to move. Dr. Rilith saw it first. A crack appeared on the surface, spreading like lightning across the orange shell. Something inside was pushing, struggling, trying to break free. The egg, she said. It is hatching. Danny looked back. His expression shifted from calm to focused. Keep pushing. Do not stop. But the mother knows what is happening. Keep moving. They pushed harder. 40 meters. 45. The crack in the egg widened. A tiny scythe arm emerged, waving weakly in the air, and the mother came out of the forest. She moved differently now, no longer curious and cautious. This was purpose. This was maternal instinct older than stars. She walked past the shuttle without looking at it, her entire attention fixed on the struggling egg. Danny stopped pushing. Hold position. The mother reached the nest and lowered her massive head. She made a sound Dr. Rilith had never heard before. Soft, almost gentle. The struggling infant responded, its movements becoming more frantic. But something was wrong. The crack was not widening properly. The infant was stuck, trapped by its own shell. It cannot get out, Dr. Rilith realized. The shell is too thick. The mother tried to help, using her massive claws to chip at the shell. But she was too strong, too large. Every touch risked crushing the infant instead of freeing it. Danny started walking toward the nest. What are you doing? Dr. Rilith hissed. Helping. It will kill you. Maybe. He did not stop walking. The mother's head snapped toward him as he approached. Those intelligent eyes focused with predatory intensity. A warning growl rumbled from deep in her chest. Danny stopped 5 meters from the nest. He crouched down slowly, making himself smaller. Then he did something that made Dr. Rilith's heart stop. He pointed at the struggling egg, then at his own hands, then made a gentle, breaking motion that he was asking permission. The mother stared at him. The growl faded, replaced by something that might have been confusion. This prey creature was not running, was not attacking, was not threatening. It was offering. Long seconds passed. The infant's struggles grew weaker. The mother stepped back from the nest. Danny moved forward. Slowly, carefully, he knelt beside the egg and examined the crack. Then, with precise movements, he began to chip away at the shell. Small pieces, controlled force, opening the crack wider without damaging what was inside. Dr. Rilith watched through her scanner, documenting everything. The mother stood 3 meters away, close enough to kill Danny with a single swipe. But she did not move. She watched. She waited. The crack widened. A second arm emerged, then a head. The infant was smaller than Dr. Rilith expected, no larger than a dog. It blinked in the bioluminescent light, confused and weak and newly alive. Danny carefully lifted it from the shell and placed it on the ground in front of its mother. Then he stood slowly and backed away, step by step, never turning his back, never breaking eye contact. The mother lowered her head and nuzzled her newborn. The infant made a small sound, something between a chirp and a growl. The mother responded with that same gentle tone Dr. Rilith had heard before. Danny reached the shuttle. "Go," he said quietly. "Now." They pushed. 50 meters, 60 meters, 70 meters. The mother did not follow. She was too busy cleaning her infant, preparing it for its new life in this dangerous world. 80 meters. Danny called a halt. "Far enough. Palo, start the engines." Low power. Gradual thrust. The shuttle's engines hummed to life. Dr. Rilith climbed inside on shaking legs, collapsing into her seat. Palo was already at the controls, his paws flying across the console. Through the viewport, Dr. Rilith watched the mother creature look up at the sound of engines. She stared at the rising shuttle for a long moment. Then she returned her attention to her offspring. They climbed into the sky, leaving the nesting ground behind. "You helped it," Dr. Rilith said finally. "A creature that could have killed you, that wanted to kill you. You helped its infants survive." Danny was looking out the viewport, watching the forest shrink below them. "On Earth, we have a saying. We are all just trying to survive. That creature down there is not evil. Not good. Just a mother protecting her children. I can understand that. I can respect that. And if it had attacked, then I would have died. But I did not think it would." "How could you know?" Danny smiled slightly. "Because I know predators. I know mothers. And I know that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is help. But sometimes it is also the only right thing." The shuttle broke through the clouds, leaving the purple-blue world behind. But Dr. Rilith knew she would never forget what she had witnessed. A human walking towards certain death to help a creature that should have been his enemy. Deathworlders. The Union called them dangerous. Perhaps they were. But perhaps danger was not the whole story. Perhaps there was also compassion. The shuttle reached orbit without incident, but their problems were not over. Dr. Rilith studied her scanner data while Danny checked the ship's systems. Palo sat in a corner, quietly reciting Kilrath prayers and refusing to look out any viewport. "We have a problem," Danny announced the doctor. Rilith looked up from her work. "What kind?" "Fuel. The maneuvering assist drained our reserves faster than expected. We have enough to reach the Serenity Wing, but the margin is thin. Define thin. If anything goes wrong, we float." Dr. Rilith clicked her mandibles in frustration. Nothing about this mission had gone according to plan. "Can we call for pickup?" "Already tried. Solar interference is blocking long-range communications. We need to break orbit and get clear before we can reach the ship." "Then let us do that." Danny nodded and took the pilot's seat. The shuttle's engines fired, pushing them toward the edge of the planet's gravity well. Dr. Rilith watched the world shrink behind them, grateful to be leaving. Halfway to communication range, the proximity alarm screamed. "Contact!" Danny pulled up the sensor display. "Something is following us." On the screen, 3 objects were rising from the planet's atmosphere. They moved fast, faster than the shuttle. Their silhouettes were irregular, organic, flyers. The planet had aerial predators large enough to reach orbit. "That should not be possible," Dr. Rilith said, staring at the screen. "No biological organism can survive in vacuum." "Tell them that," Danny muttered. He pushed the engines harder, but the shuttle was already at maximum thrust. The creatures were gaining. Dr. Rilith enhanced the image. The flyers were massive, with 4 wings and bodies covered in thick scales. Their mouths were open, revealing rows of teeth designed for tearing. And their eyes tracked the shuttle with terrible intelligence. "They followed us," she realized. "From the surface. They have been tracking us since we left." "The nesting ground," Danny said. "We were near their hunting territory. They must have marked us as competition." "Competition?" We are not predators. They do not know that. All they know is that something new entered their territory and did not die. That makes us either prey or rivals. Either way, worth investigating. The creatures close the distance. 500 meters. 300. 100. Brace for impact, Danny ordered. The first creature hit the shuttle like a meteor. Metal screamed. Warning lights flooded the cockpit. The ship spun wildly, gravity shifting in sickening waves. Danny fought the controls, stabilizing their rotation. Hull breach in cargo bay. Atmosphere holding, but compromised. The second creature struck. More alarms. More damage. The shuttle was not designed for combat. It was a survey vessel built for science, not survival. Doctor Rilith's mind raced. They could not outrun the creatures, could not outfight them, could not communicate for help. Options narrowed to nothing. The emergency beacon, she said suddenly. Does it work on different frequencies? Danny glanced at her. Yes. Why? These creatures tracked us across planetary distances. They navigate using some form of sensory system we do not understand. What if we could disrupt it? Understanding lit Danny's face. Overload the beacon. Broadcast on all frequencies at maximum power. Create sensory noise. Exactly. Danny reached for the beacon controls. This will burn out the system. We will not be able to call for help. We cannot call for help anyway. Do it. He activated the beacon and pushed every setting to maximum. The device screamed, broadcasting a wall of electromagnetic noise across every frequency it could reach. The effect was immediate. The third creature, already diving toward them, suddenly veered away. It spun in confusion, its wings beating erratically. The other two pulled back, shaking their heads as if in pain. It is working, Paolo gasped. Not for long. Danny pointed at the beacon, which was smoking and sparking. Maybe 30 seconds before it burns out completely. 30 seconds. Dr. Rilith calculated distances and trajectories. The communication range was close, but not close enough. They needed more speed, more time, more something. The cargo bay, she said. We have emergency boosters in storage. One-shot thrusters for evacuation scenarios. Danny was already moving. Paolo, take the controls. Keep us stable. The Kilrath looked terrified, but he moved to the pilot's seat. His paws trembled on the controls, but he held the shuttle steady. Danny and Dr. Rilith raced to the cargo bay. The hull breach had torn a hole in the outer wall, exposing twisted metal and sparking wires. Through the gap, they could see stars, and the creatures circling in the distance, recovering from the beacon blast. The emergency boosters were stored in a compartment on the far wall. Danny pried it open and pulled out two compact cylinders. These are designed for EVA suits. Small, personal. Can we attach them to the shuttle? Not designed for it. But he looked at the damaged hull, at the exposed framework. We could try. They worked frantically, using emergency tape and manual clamps to secure the boosters to the shuttle's frame. It was not elegant. It was not safe. But it was possible. The beacon died. Silence fell, broken only by the hiss of atmosphere slowly escaping. They're coming back, Paolo reported from the cockpit. All three. Fast. Danny finished securing the second booster. Get inside. Seal the cargo bay. They ran. The emergency door closed behind them, sealing the breach. Danny threw himself into the pilot's seat and activated the boosters. The acceleration was brutal. The shuttle lurched forward, engines screaming, boosters adding their thrust to the desperate escape. Dr. Rilith was thrown against her seat, her vision blurring from the force. Behind them, the creatures followed. But they were slower now, struggling against the sudden burst of speed. The gap widened. 100 meters. 200. 500. The communication array crackled to life. Survey shuttle. This is Serenity Wing. We are reading your position. Do you require assistance? Danny grabbed the communicator. Affirmative, Serenity Wing. Emergency extraction needed. We have hostile wildlife in pursuit. A pause. Did you say wildlife? In orbit. Long story. Send help. Now. The Serenity Wing's combat drones launched 30 seconds later. By the time they arrived, The creatures had retreated back toward the atmosphere, apparently deciding that the strange flying thing was more trouble than it was worth. The shuttle limped into the Serenity Wings docking bay, trailing smoke and debris. Dr. Rillith stepped on his solid deck plating and felt her legs give out for the second time that day. Danny helped her to a bench. "You did well, Doctor." She looked up at him. "I nearly got us killed. You adapted. You thought fast. You found solutions." He smiled. "That is how humans survive. That is how anyone survives." Dr. Rillith leaned back against the wall, exhausted beyond words. They had escaped. They had survived, but she knew the mission was not over. Not really, because now she had to write the report. 3 days passed aboard the Serenity Wing. The shuttle was beyond repair, but the crew was safe. Dr. Rillith spent most of that time in her quarters, organizing data and trying to make sense of what they had experienced. The numbers did not add up. The predator density, the energy requirements, the impossible biology of creatures that could survive in vacuum. By every model the Union used, this planet should not exist. Its ecosystem should have collapsed millennia ago. Yet it thrived out on the 4th day. She found Danny in the observation deck, staring at the planet below. The purple-blue world hung in the darkness, beautiful and deadly, and full of mysteries. "May I join you?" she asked. He nodded without looking away from the view to Dr. Rillith settled into his seat beside him. For a while, neither spoke. The silence was comfortable, unlike the terrified silence of the surface. "I have been reviewing your service record," she said finally. "You have worked on 17 survey missions. 12 of them encountered dangerous wildlife. In every case, you recommended coexistence protocols instead of elimination." "I have a philosophy," Danny said. "Predators are not problems. They are solutions." "Solutions to what?" "Everything else." He turned to face her. "On Earth, we nearly made wolves extinct. Hunted them, poisoned them, drove them out of their territories. We thought we were making the land safer. Instead, we made it sick." Dr. Rillith leaned forward, interested despite her exhaustion. "Explain." "Without wolves, deer populations exploded. They ate everything. Stripped forests bare. Without forests, riverbanks eroded. Rivers changed course. Fish populations crashed. Birds lost nesting sites. The entire ecosystem unraveled, all because we removed one predator. And when you brought them back, the land healed. Not immediately, not completely, but it healed. The deer learned fear again. They stopped staying in one place, stopped overgrazing. Plants grew back. Rivers stabilized. Everything connected to everything else, and the wolves were the keystone holding it together." Dr. Rillith thought about the creatures on the planet below. The 6-legged pack hunters, the massive nesting mother, the orbital flyers. Each one terrifying. Each one, according to Danny's logic, essential. "The Union's standard protocol for colonization," she said slowly, "is to eliminate apex predators before settlement. I know. If they do that here, the ecosystem will collapse. Maybe not immediately, maybe not obviously, but eventually everything will fall apart, just like it did on Earth, just like it always does when you remove the things you fear instead of understanding them." Dr. Rillith was quiet for a long time. Through the viewport, the planet turned slowly, its bioluminescent forests glowing in the darkness of the night side. "My report will determine what happens," she said. "Standard classification would recommend predator elimination. But if I document what we observed, if I recommend coexistence protocols, then you change how the Union thinks about dangerous worlds," Danny finished. "You set a precedent. You prove that there is another way, or I destroy my career." Coexistence recommendations are rare. They are reviewed, questioned, challenged. Many xenobiologists who propose them are never assigned major missions again. Danny nodded. "That is possible. Why do you do it then? Why risk your career, your reputation, for creatures that would kill you without hesitation?" He looked back at the planet. "Because I was lucky. I was born on Earth. I grew up learning how to live alongside dangerous things. Most species in the Union never had that chance. Their homeworlds were tame, safe. They evolved without predators, so they never learned to understand them. They only learned to fear them. And fear leads to destruction. Every time. He paused. My job is not to eliminate threats. My job is to teach, to show people that fear is just the beginning. What comes after fear, that is what matters. Understanding, respect, balance. Dr. Rilith made her decision in that moment. She did not know if it was the right one. She did not know if it would cost her everything she had worked for. But she knew it was the honest one. I will recommend coexistence protocols, she said, with a specific amendment. I will request that you be assigned as permanent advisor to my xenobiology team. Danny looked surprised. You want me to stay? I want to learn. What you know, how you think, it is not in any textbook. It cannot be taught in any classroom, but can be demonstrated. It can be shared. She stood up. Survey Target 4471 is just one world. There are thousands more. Million. Each one with its own predators, its own dangers, its own potential for either destruction or understanding. And you want to choose understanding. I want to try. She extended one of her hands in the human gesture she had learned. Partners. Danny smiled and shook her hand. Partners. The next morning, Dr. Rilith submitted her report. She documented everything. The pack hunters, the nesting mother, the orbital flyers, the impossible ecosystem. She included Danny's observations, his techniques, his philosophy, and she recommended coexistence. The review board would take weeks to process the report. There would be questions, challenges, doubts. But Dr. Rilith had made her choice. She would not be ruled by fear. 6 months later, the first permanent research station was established on Survey Target 4471. The Union renamed it New Balance, acknowledging both the planet's complex ecosystem and the new approach it represented. Dr. Rilith stood on the observation platform, watching the purple-blue forest stretch to the horizon. The bioluminescent plants glowed softly in the twilight, casting familiar patterns of light across the landscape. Somewhere in those trees, predators hunted and prey fled, and life continued as it had for millions of years. The station had been built according to Danny's specifications. No walls that blocked wildlife corridors. No lights bright enough to disrupt bioluminescent communication. No waste systems that might contaminate water sources. The Union had resisted many of the requirements, arguing cost and efficiency. Dr. Rilith had argued right back, and eventually she had won. New arrivals are here, Danny said, joining her on the platform. Shuttle just landed. Dr. Rilith nodded. Every month brought new researchers, new staff, new people who needed training. That was her job now, teaching others what she had learned. They walked together to the landing pad, where a dozen nervous-looking scientists were stepping off the shuttle. Most were Valorians like Dr. Rilith, but she spotted a few Kilrath and even a pair of humans. The Union was slowly recognizing that humans had expertise worth utilizing. Welcome to New Balance, Dr. Rilith announced. I am Dr. Rilith, Station Director. This is Danny Webb, Wildlife Integration Specialist. Before you unpack, before you settle in, before anything else, you will receive orientation. What you learn today may save your life. The new arrivals looked nervous. Good. Nervous meant attentive. Danny stepped forward. This planet has the highest predator density of any world in Union records. Everything here is dangerous. And I mean everything. The plants, the water, the air at certain times of day. If you came here expecting a safe research position, you came to the wrong place. More nervousness. Excellent. But, Danny continued, danger is not the same as death. Danger can be understood. It can be predicted. It can even, sometimes, be appreciated. That is what we are going to teach you. Not how to avoid the wildlife. Not how to hide from it. How to live with it. Dr. Rilith led them to the Orientation Center, a transparent dome that offered views of the surrounding forest. Inside, screens displayed footage from the past 6 months. Pack hunters moving through clearings. The orbital flyers circling in the upper atmosphere. And, most impressive of all, the nesting mother and her offspring. 6 months ago, Dr. Rilith said, I came to this planet expecting to document life forms and leave. Instead, I learned something that changed my entire approach to xenobiology. I learned that predators are not obstacles. They are teachers. She played the footage of Danny helping the hatching infant. The new researchers watched in stunned silence. This creature could have killed Danny in an instant. It had every reason to. We were in its territory, near its offspring, representing unknown threat. But instead of attacking, it allowed him to help. Why? No one answered. Because he understood it, Danny said. Not through science, not through technology, through observation, through respect, through willingness to see the creature as something other than a monster to be feared or eliminated. Dr. Rilith advanced to the next set of images. Charts showing ecosystem stability, population graphs, health metrics for every major species they had cataloged. In 6 months of coexistence protocols, we have documented more successful research than any previous survey mission. We have made discoveries about bioluminescent communication, about interspecies cooperation, about evolutionary adaptation that would have been impossible under standard elimination approaches. And we have done it without losing a single researcher. She paused to let that sink in. This does not mean the work is safe. It means the work is careful. It means we respect what we study. And it means that when danger comes, we respond with knowledge instead of panic. Danny took over, explaining the practical protocols, movement patterns, body language, sound management, everything he had learned in a lifetime of working with Earth's predators, adapted for an alien world. The orientation lasted 4 hours. By the end, the new researchers looked exhausted, but no longer quite so terrified. They had information now, understanding, the beginning of a shift from fear to respect. That evening, after the new arrivals had settled into their quarters, Dr. Rilith and Danny walked to the edge of the station's perimeter. The forest was alive with sound and light, the planet's nocturnal ecosystem beginning its daily awakening. Do you think it will work? Dr. Rilith asked. Long term, I mean. Can we really change how the Union approaches dangerous worlds? Danny was quiet for a moment. Probably not completely. Fear is deep, ancient. It does not disappear because of one successful mission or one research station. But we can plant seeds, show alternatives, prove that there are other ways. And if the Union decides to ignore us, to proceed with elimination protocols on other worlds, then we keep trying, keep teaching, keep demonstrating. He smiled slightly. Humans are stubborn like that. We do not give up just because something is difficult. Movement in the tree caught Dr. Rilith's attention. A shape, massive and familiar, emerging from the shadows. The mother creature, her offspring, now nearly full-grown, followed close behind. The creature stopped at the edge of the clearing. The mother's eyes found Danny, held his gaze for a long moment. Then she made that soft sound, the one that Dr. Rilith had first heard 6 months ago. Almost gentle, almost greeting. Danny nodded slowly. A small gesture, an acknowledgement between two beings who had learned to understand each other. The mother turned and disappeared back into the forest, her offspring following. The night sounds resumed, undisturbed at Dr. Rilith watched them go, her heart's full of something she had not expected when she first came to this world. Hope. Come on, Danny said. Early morning tomorrow. New researchers need field training. They walked back to the station together, leaving the forest to its ancient rhythms. Behind them, bioluminescent patterns pulsed and flowed, beautiful and deadly and full of life. This was new balance. This was the future, and it was just the beginning.